I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So in the last reading, we read in 2 Kings chapter 11, the Athaliah's massacre of the royal family and takeover of the kingdom, and then 6 years later, the one surviving member of the family, Joash, being instated as king by the high priest Jehoiada. Now, we are turning to 2 Chronicles, and this will be the same basic story, again, being a parallel account, but we will be reading in 2 Chronicles chapter 22, the last three verses, verses 10 through 12, and then we will read chapter 23. So here we go. This is 2 Chronicles chapter 22, starting with verse 10. And when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal of the house of Judah. But Jehoshabeth, the daughter of the king, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons that were slain, and put him and his nurse in a bedchamber. So Jehoshabeth, the daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah, so that she slew him not. And he was with them, hid in the house of God 6 years, and Athaliah reigned over the land. Okay, first of all, we have a change in name here. Her name is Jehoshabeth here. In Kings it was Jehoshaphat, but unimportant. We get a little extra information here. She's actually married to the high priest Jehoiada. She is his wife, which is why she's able to get him to the temple to be hidden, because that's where she lives. Which indicates that she wasn't killed with the rest of the royal family. Also indicates that it may not have killed all the daughters, only killed the sons, because they were the only ones that would have been a threat to Athaliah's takeover. But I like that we are told here she is the wife of Jehoiada. And she is she is Joash's aunt. So the children of Jehoiada, the high priest, would be cousins to the king. It's a nice little family relationship. But now, let us flip to chapter 23. Jehoiada the priest makes Joash king. Athaliah is slain, worship of the Lord restored, and priest of Baal slain. And in the 7th year, Jehoiada strengthened himself and took the captains of hundreds, Azariah the son of Jeroram, and Ishmael the son of Jehohanan, and Azariah the son of Obed, and Maaseiah the son of Adiah, and Elishaphat the son of Zichri into covenant with him. And they went about in Judah and gathered the Levites out of all the cities of Judah and the chief of the fathers of Israel. And they came to Jerusalem. And all the congregation made a covenant with the king in the house of God. And he said unto them, Behold, the king's son shall reign, as the Lord hath said of the sons of David. This is the thing that ye shall do. A third part of you entering on the Sabbath of the priests of the Levites shall be porters of the doors, and a third part shall be at the king's house, and a third part at the gate of the foundation. And all the people shall be in the courts of the house of the Lord. But let none come into the house of the Lord, save the priests, and they that minister of the Levites. They shall go in, for they are holy. But all the people shall keep the watch of the Lord. And the Levites shall compass the king round about, every man with his weapons in his hand. And whosoever else cometh into the house, he shall be put to death. But be ye with the king when he cometh in, and when he goeth out. Interesting. This gives us a little more detail, a little more clarification here. So, a third of them are guarding the temple, a third of them are over the house of the king, and a third of them says the gate of the foundation. The footnote here would say it's in the same as the gate of Shur in 2 Kings. This makes me think that it might not be that's like a gate between going from the temple to the king's house, that there's a gate kind of halfway through that separates the inner city from the outer city, something like that. That's the vibe I'm getting here, although I might have to look this up because now it's a little confusing. But it is, you would need to guard the temple and the king's house. If you're going to make him king, you crown him in the temple, and then you have to take him to the house to set him on the throne. So, and then, but he said, let the priests and the Levites come in because they need to. They got to do the work of the house, but don't let anybody else in. But we still have the same command to keep the king surrounded to protect him. That's an important detail. Verse 8. So the Levites and all Judah did according to all things that Jehoiada the priest had commanded, and took every man his men that were to come in on the Sabbath with them that were to go out on the Sabbath. For Jehoiada the priest dismissed not the courses. Moreover, Jehoiada the priest delivered to the captains of hundreds spears and bucklers and shields that had been King David's, which were in the house of God. And he set all the people, every man having his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the temple to the left side of the temple, along by the altar and the temple, by the king round about. Then they brought out the king's son, and put upon him the crown, and gave him the testimony, and made him king. And Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and said, God save the king. When it says gave him the testimony, this is the oath of office, basically. It says in the footnotes, divine charge, as recorded in Deuteronomy chapter 17. This is the king's oath of office. They're making Joash swear to obey the law of Moses, to do what the king is supposed to do. Then they crown him, and they say, God save the king. Now, I do want to go back when it says he dismissed not the courses, those who came in on the Sabbath. This is talking about those who are assigned to work. This is their shift. You might say, remember that David set up shifts of priests and Levites serving in the temple. You would have shifts of soldiers guarding the temple, whatever. And that's what they're saying, is that you are on, keep up the normal work of the day, but then surround the king and get us, but don't have any people here that shouldn't be here. We don't want to make this too obvious. Verse 12. Now when Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she came to the people into the house of the Lord, and she looked, and behold, the king stood at his pillar at the entering in, and the princes and the trumpets by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced and sounded with trumpets, also the singers with instruments of music, and such as taught to sing praise. Then Athaliah rent her clothes and said, Treason, treason! Then Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of hundreds that were set over the host, and said unto them, Have her forth of the ranges, and whoso followeth her, let him be slain with the sword. For the priest said, Slay her not in the house of the Lord. So they laid hands on her, and when she was come to the entering of the horse gate by the king's house, they slew her there. Now, of the ranges, this is a reference to the military ranks. In other words, arrest her, put her between the soldiers, and carry her out of here to be killed outside the temple. And in 2 Kings it said, slay anybody who comes within the ranges. In other words, anybody who came too close to the soldiers, who came within range of their weapons. Now he's saying, put her within the ranges. In other words, put her within range of your spears, get her under arrest, take her out, and kill her. Let us finish this, verse 16. And Jehoiada made a covenant between him and between all the people and between the king, that they should be the Lord's people. Then all the people went to the house of Baal and brake it down, and brake his altars and his images in pieces, and slew Matan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. Also Jehoiada appointed the offices of the house of the Lord by the hand of the priests the Levites, whom David had distributed in the house of the Lord, to offer the burnt offerings of the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and with singing, as it was ordained by David. And he set the porters at the gates of the house of the Lord, that none which was unclean in anything should enter in. So this last part is just saying they completely destroy the worship of Baal. They destroy his temple, they burn his altar, they kill his priest. And then they reinstitute all the proper worship, not just the proper worship of God, but they reinstitute all the organization that David had set up for this, the orders of the singers serving the priests and the Levites that would serve under them at certain times. They redid it all. They got it all back working the way it was supposed to. So apparently it's been a while since the temple has been in regular order, and they're reinstituting it. And he took the captains of hundreds, and the nobles, and the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought down the king from the house of the Lord, and they came through the high gate into the king's house, and set the king upon the throne of the kingdom. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet after that they had slain Athaliah with the sword. But they had the procession. They anointed him king in the temple, which is right. And then they had their procession to the king's house and set him on the throne, making him king, and all the people rejoiced. Nice ending. So we're going to leave that here. The next video, I believe, we'll be reading both Kings and Chronicles to keep our timeline up. So I will see you there.